board members are here and present. Please stand with me and salute our flag. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, at this time I will read our district vision statement. Through intentionally designed systems, Haven School District is committed to creating a positive and inclusive culture focusing on academic and personal success to ultimately be the district of choice for staff, students, and our communities. At this time we'll move on to the approval of our agenda. If there's anything new or different to consider, now is the time. If not, just looking for a motion to approve.
Is there something where you can do like a placeholder for an executive session if it's needed for some events that have come up lately? And then if it's discussed and it's not needed, then I don't know how that works. If
we can, any item that we're discussing, if we need to go to executive, we can do that at any time.
Okay, I didn't know if how that worked as far as, okay.
Yeah, so.
Perfect.
All right. So if we're good there, looking for approval, or a motion. Okay, first from Ryan, second from Ken, all in favor, right hand. Okay, 6-0. All right, citizens open forum, do we have any?
No.
Okay, nobody here to speak. We do have some recognitions and presentations.
Yeah, so once again, just our monthly board recognitions to be able to recognize some people who, whether it's staff, parents, community members, students out of each of our spaces, and allow admin to recognize somebody, and I'll kind of read what they wrote and give them a chance to add anything, and we'll have them come up with a board member or two to take a picture underneath our power H. We'll have to get their certificates to them. We had an issue with the printing of them this afternoon, so we'll get them certificates. But the first one is Mr. Trito. So Mr. Trito, if you'll stand up. Mr. Trito is our new band teacher, and Mrs. Scott wrote, Mr. Trito took the Haven High School band to perform at the Kansas State Fair and performed in two areas: marching performance, parade, and marching performance arena. Haven High School band received 2 awards, an excellent 2 and an outstanding 1 in those 2 areas. And so we have a kiddo at home that is on the band, or in the band, and so we appreciate the life that Mr. Trito has breathed into our band program. And while their numbers are still small, if you've been to our any of our events, they sound great, and you know, his passion is in marching, and so we're excited to watch him grow. So I'll let Mr. McCarthy or Ms. Scott add anything to that.
It's been exciting to see you work with the kids, and both you know, at the middle school and then the grade school as well. So we're looking forward to mass band this week, and just knowing we appreciate the effort and the time that you're putting into the kids and getting them excited about band. And so I did bring the awards that you received, so we'll take those with the picture. But I know you said that you didn't anticipate them scoring your event, but I was so glad that they did, and you were able to get some feedback for the kiddos and wanted to grow from there. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, board member or two wants to. Thanks, Ryan.
Suck it in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next one is Brent Lockridge. Brent, if you'll stand up. So Brent, well, while she should be recognized for being a teacher, obviously in our district, teaches 6th grade, but Mr. Morrison had wanted to recognize her for the work she does for our Food for Kids program. If you can remember, that's our backpack food program that the board approved last year. And a program like that, if you're not familiar with it, it takes a lot of organization, and a lot of organization that has to fall on somebody, and Haven Grade needed somebody to step up and take that over, and Bryn was more than willing to do that. So she's organized for who's supposed to get it, to getting it out to students, and then making sure the deliveries and such that come that. So we had this program in Leavenworth when I was there, so I think it's a huge program, and when we have 47% of our kids on free lunches, it is even a bigger program for us. So I'll let Mr. Morrison or Darby talk, add anything to that, but Bryn Lawson.
Yeah, just absolutely. You know, to echo Craig, I mean, we've got over 50% of our kids free and reduced at the grade school, and you know, just knowing that this is a need, and partnering with the food bank to, you know, get those kids, you know, packages of food on Friday so that they don't go hungry over the weekend. And you know, we've realized over the past 2 years that we've done this, that, or at least I've realized how big of a need it is. And you know, I just appreciate Bryn. It's just another thing that takes time out of her week and energy. And I know there's some other staff members that have helped her too, so I want to make sure to give a shout out to them as well. But just stepping up and being willing to volunteer your time to help, you know, meet the needs of kids in our community. So thank you, Bryn.
Thank you, Bryn. Ryan? Director Kelly?
Bryn, what are you giving her speech?
She would have really been like, come.
No.
Just come and get it?
Yeah. He was more than willing.
I did have a talk, that's fine.
My wife has one of those too.
Sorry, Jessica.
And the last, we have a group here, so our middle school RCEC team, so Carly Stubb, Kim Perkins, Kenzie Flower, and Andrew Ridgway, if you'll stand up. This group works with some of our highest needs kiddos in the middle school. We've shared with the board that our adaptive program came back into our district, and that was a big undertaking for this group as we see some behaviors and some needs that we haven't seen before, but they showed up every day. Mr. Kirkpatrick wanted to honor them or to recognize them for that hard work and showing up every day and not knowing what to do and not knowing what success looks like from some of these kids, but continually adapting and finding ways to meet their needs. And so Mr. Kirkpatrick is not here, but I'll let Mr. McCarthy add anything to that. But I appreciate the hard work that they do, certainly behind the scenes that no one sees that's going on every day.
Yes, this group definitely deserves to be recognized. The amount of grace and patience that they have had with our adaptive program. Those students being at the middle school this year, every time I go down there, I think to myself, man, I can't believe you guys are still coming in every day and doing the good work. But we really appreciate everything you guys do, and our middle school could not run without you. So thank you.
Oh, much nicer than me. Yeah.
One, two, three. Thank you. Great job. That's all we have.
Good. All right, thank you guys, we appreciate you. If you are here to be recognized, we want to give you the best gift that we can give you and let you know you do not have to stick around. So you are free to enjoy your evening if you would like to. You are welcome to leave, it will not offend us one bit. If you'd like to stay, please feel free to do that as well. Thank you guys once again for your service to our district and what you do impact people.
Thank you.
All right, we will move down to our consent agenda and pass it over to Christy for our financial report.
Okay, our ending cash for the month is $4,073,805.70 as listed on the September 2025 Treasurer's Report. The checks that we had over $10,000 were to Mark Brookie Construction for $154,636.85. To the State of Kansas Treasurer for $1,048,487.50 for the bond payment. Vinnie Keith for $36,264.93 for food. The City of Haven for $21,508.82 for utilities. Heartland Credit Union for $18,198.77 for credit cards. And Strobel Education for $11,500 for the standard base grading. That's it.
All right. Appreciate that. If we have any questions for Christy, now's the time to ask those. Your principal and director reports are in your drive, and if you haven't checked into those, have a few moments to do so. If you have any questions based on those as well, once again, now would be a good time to ask that admin or director those questions.
Chris, did I miss the maintenance report? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I didn't have one in there, but I
That's
got a
fine.
capital outlay report
He's
for you guys.
talking tonight too, so.
Good there. Minutes from the September 8th and 15th meetings are also in the drive. Just want to review those for accuracy. If you notice anything, please let us know. We have resignations. Looks like we don't have any there. And then we also have a new location there in the drive for gifts and donations. So as things arise and that there's a need for that, that will be useful for us there in the consent agenda. If nobody has anything based on anything in the consent agenda, we are looking for a motion to approve. Okay, first from Daniel,
Second.
second from Ryan, all in favor, right hand. Okay, 6-0. All right, we will move on to action discussion item number 1, consideration for out-of-state trip for FFA.
Yeah, I am pinch hitting for Mrs. Knapp, who luckily we've had a couple of girls qualify for state tennis. And if you're not familiar with tennis, coaches have meetings to argue about who gets seated where. And so that for state tennis, which happens to be Friday and hopefully Saturday for our ladies, that coaches meeting is happening right now. So if we have questions that's going to keep us from moving forward, which we usually don't when this happens, we will get her on the phone and she will get them answered. But I think Evan and Gracie are going to knock this out of the park and probably have all the answers for you. So you hope not?
I said, here's hoping that we
Let's
do.
hope that we do. So you two will come on up and make your presentation, and I would certainly recommend approving this once they make the rest. So.
But yeah, so we're just kind of requesting out-of-state transportation to go to National Convention. This would be my second year. They have a very large career fair that they do every single day, and we don't usually get something every day, but going there is a super awesome experience. There's a ton of people that I still keep in touch with about future plans and ideas. It's just a great way to interact with some very big businesses out there about, you know, college or just like technical schools or other things like it.
One of our big reasons that we want to go this year is the Haven FFA chapter has won a 3-star national award. So one of us will get to walk across stage and receive that award. And for being as small as a chapter as we are, that is a huge deal. So we would love to go receive that award, love to, you know, have that in our hands. So that's one of our big reasons. Like Evan said, this is a, I would like to say, once in a lifetime kind of trip ordeal. It's such an amazing thing to see all the chapters together and just to learn from each other, because everyone has such different ideas. And it's an amazing thing, especially for our green hands and our sophomores to come see and experience while they're in high school.
I guess one of the other things is that 3-star is the highest achievement that any chapter can get in the nation. It's a very hard one to get. It took us a lot of time last year to get it, but it's a super special thing to get to walk across the stage and receive that award. So, yeah.
Is it still in Indianapolis? Is that?
Yeah,
okay.
still in Indianapolis.
Any additional questions for them?
Any motion?
Yeah, if we're all good, we just look for a motion.
Well, whatever, go.
Kelly got
Make
the
motion to
first.
Second.
We got Ken with the second. All in favor to approve their trip? 6-0.
Go have fun.
Yeah, thanks
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Good job, guys.
All right, item.
You guys are free to go unless you want
Yeah,
to stay for the
yeah,
rest
you
of the
know.
meeting.
Thank you.
You gotta stick it out.
Item 2, consideration of club policy first read.
Yeah, so we're going to welcome Mr. Mason up to the stage. If those of you don't know Mr. Mason, he is our gifted facilitator who works as a RCEC employee but works with our students. And as we're always looking for, extended opportunities for our students, Mr. Mason and Ms. Kelly and Ms. Scott came with an idea. We have a student that wants to take this or move into this, and I'll let him explain exactly what it is. But to do so, us as a district, we would need a policy to do that. So kind of with that, this as always with with any policy, we're looking at a first read. Allow you guys to ask any questions certainly tonight, and then bring it back next month with what would be hopefully approval. So.
Well, hey, I am Chris Mason, gifted facilitator. Thanks for letting me talk to you guys tonight. I do have Tourette's, but I'll try to keep that dialed down so no one has to pop a dram at me during the presentation. So, CLEP exams is an opportunity for our students. I'd say a small percentage of students, but an opportunity nonetheless. What this is it's college level examination preparation. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's relatively cheap college credit. It's $90 to basically take the test, and it has a range of subjects: science, social studies, math, ELA, like Comp 1, college algebra. Those would be some options. There's thousands of colleges that recognize CLEP as credit. The caveat to that, the sticking point is it's a pass-fail. It's not GPA. It does not count on their GPA. There's testing sites all around the country. One close to us is Wichita State. Thank you. So my proposal, what I would like to propose or see is gifted students be able to take this up to 2 credits that would count for high school and college credit. 1 attempt per course. I don't want like a Wild West situation where they're just taking unlimited exams. I don't know if anybody would do that. But I envision this being used in rare instances. I serve about 2.5% of identified gifted populations, about 2.5% of Haven. So I don't anticipate this would be like overused. I talked with a counselor in Bueller. They've had this policy, a similar policy, for 20 years, and they said they used it a handful of times, maybe 5 times in the 20 years. So this is just more like to lend, hopefully, credence to this is a legitimate exam. 93,000 exams were taken, and there's a 77% pass rate, so there's a little bit of rigor associated with it. People have to study, people have to work to pass it. So, yeah, it's cheap college credit. It's acceleration. I kind of see this from two aspects. It's acceleration. It allows students to, like, let's say they take a Comp 1 and a Comp 2, which is what the young lady I have would like to do. She receives high school credit, college credit, and that allows her to accelerate, take more college credit, or that also allows her to enjoy other opportunities. I envision scenarios where maybe electives are an issue and students don't have enough electives possibly to take all the courses they want to take, band, art, whatever. So this allows them to do that. And I probably should have chosen a better word there. Why take a course you can already pass? But a lot of the students I serve they learn rather quickly, and the stuff they don't know, they make up the deficits rather quickly. So I feel like students that are identified as gifted should not have to do extra work, but different work. And so what I'm asking for, I already said, is that CLEP exams in the 2 classes would count for dual credit, similar to HCC, so it would count towards high school and college. Thank you for your time.
Any questions for Mr. Mason before I kind of bring the policy up into the screen and kind of walk through that? Any questions for him?
You kind of mentioned Comp 1 and Comp 2, like, are there several other classes that you'd be?
There's a lot of options for CLEP exams. There's history, there's math, there's psychology, there's a wide range of examinations and possibilities. So, again, I don't envision it being used a ton, but a lot of the kids that I have, this girl in particular, I'm confident she could pass Comp 1 relatively easy, and if she could pass the exam relatively easy with a little bit of study, and anything that she missed, like standards-wise, she would make up very quickly.
So here's the policy as a first read. As we said, we're looking for to be no more than 2. And right now, that student would need to be identified gifted. We opted to be a little tighter with them, knowing that if you know, we do have a student that's not identified, that teachers and admin think that this might benefit, then we will have that conversation about opening it up. But allow any questions regarding the policy or anything. If you have questions that you need to go back, as this is a first read, you can send them to me and we'll get them answered for you. I think this is benefit for our kids. It's not one of those things that we're just going to open up and everybody has this opportunity to do that. But there'll be some serious conversations before this is enacted. So.
Don't we have dual credit in like math? I know that Michelle Mathias was teaching.
So
Or how does this different?
Yep, so I will let one of our admin or Megan or talk about the dual credit, how that works at the high school. But then this is a little bit different, but then kind of gets the same. Dual credit, they're still taking the class. This, you'll just take an exam and you get a high enough score, you don't have to take the class.
Okay. Now I'm understanding what you're,
Yeah.
because I wasn't quite sure where you're coming from. Okay, thank you.
So we'll bring this back next month.
Okay. Anything else before we move on? All right. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mason,
you,
for your
everyone.
time.
Appreciate it.
All right, item 3, consideration of Title I Family Engagement Policy.
Yeah, so Ms. Head will come on up or stand up. Guys, regulations change and policy and federal requirements change, and as we constantly are dotting the T's and are crossing the T's, dotting the I's with our LCP plan and those kinds of things, making sure that we have, we have to have this year a Title I family engagement policy. Haven Grade is our only building that we identify as a title school, so that's why you'll see Haven Grade identified or talked about specifically in this policy, because right now that is the only building that qualifies for title funds. So I'll let Megan kind of talk why we need to do this. Doesn't really change anything that we've been doing or add anything that we've been doing. We've been doing all these things. We're just now kind of making it official with policy.
Yeah, so every 3 years we have an ESEA review through KSDE. They just basically are asking us for some documentation and making sure that we're compliant in all of our federal programs. And as I did that my first year in this role, and now it's up again. And so that'll be this spring, and as I was kind of just reviewing and making sure that we had everything in place, one thing that stood out to me was the guidance from KSDE on our Title I family engagement policy. And so they have kind of this one sheeter with everything that they recommend or require that we have within that policy. And so our current policy is that IDAD. It didn't look like it was quite complete to me or met all of these requirements, so I sent it to KSDE and asked them to take a look, and they agreed that we needed to do some work on this before the spring. So got some guidance from them, reached out to a few other districts in the county that have this policy in place, and kind of went from there with this. So any questions about it, I can try to answer. Braden helped me with this too, and we hope we've got all the pieces we need in here. These are things that we were already doing, but needed to be documented.
I'm gonna ask a dumb question. I know we have like Haven Middle and Haven
Yeah.
High.
So,
listed.
yeah, title is, based on our number of free and reduced students, percentage, and then, Haven Grade is our only building that has qualified for a Title I program, and so that's how we pay. We have a title teacher in that building that does some specialized instruction, and then some paras that we pay with title funds as well. Our other buildings don't qualify at this point.
Wasn't a dumb question.
Well, I was just trying to, you know, if the other buildings, we have to do it for,
Sure.
why can't we just all do it in one whack?
Yeah.
That's what I was after.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anything else, board?
Alright.
Alright, that's, they mentioned, yeah, first read and no action on that. And we'll move on to item 4, district enrollment presentation and discussion, and no action on this item as well.
Give me a second to bring up my presentation. So just a reminder, these numbers are based on the students that we had in our buildings or our spaces on September 22nd this year. You'll hear the September 20th count. The 20th fell on a Saturday, and so we were able to use, we had an extra day or up until that Monday was the official count day. This makes up, or our student count makes up the other part of our budget, or the other dollars that we get. Okay, we get all the tax dollars for the taxes that we levy, and then the rest of it comes in for the students that are in our buildings. All right?
Going for your idea, Ken.
There we go. All right. So here's overall enrollment for the district. I'll give you a second to kind of look at this, and we'll talk it through a few things. Starting on the left is all our buildings, Little Learners, on to the high school, and then a couple other rows that I'll talk about. First thing I want to talk about is head count. When you hear me say head count, that's the actual number of kids that we have, whether it's in seats or in our buildings. And so head count is going to be different than FTE, which is our full-time equivalency, or that's what they count for, what they multiply per the base or per each kid to get a dollar amount that they pay. Okay, so our head count in our Little Learners is a lot higher. It's twice as high because we get paid 0.5 for all pre-K kids, 3 and 4 that are at risk, and then all 3 and 4 year olds that are also on IEPs. So we have 70 of those kids. You divide that by, we have 68 of those plus the 2 pre-K age kids that we don't get funding for, and you divide this that 68 by 2, and you get the 34 pre-Kers that we get funding for. And then you have Haven Grade, which is kindergarten through 6th grade. One thing we need to really be mindful of, and we talked about this a couple of years ago when that 41 class was coming through and this 47, we now have a kindergarten class of 32. That makes really hard, and especially when we get past kindergarten of having 3 sections. And I talked to DLT today, and BLTs will start having that conversation and bringing that conversation to this table of like, what's that look like moving forward as these smaller classes start coming through. The good thing is we're not losing 4 to 5 kids out of every grade level, and it's really hard to cut and make changes or resize a district when that happens. What we're seeing is large graduating classes, small kindergarten classes coming in. And so we've seen it coming, and now now it's going to be time through this year to have those conversations. We've also had that conversation like, okay, are we able to move 6th grade over to the middle school? I think that's going to get really tough until this 5th grade class gets out and you're looking at the 41 moving up into there just because of the space. We kind of talked about before, could we do it when we were talking about the changes earlier? Yes, but I don't know if that change and making it super tight at the high school, middle school is worth it right now. But it could be done, and if the board wants to continue to have those conversations, we can keep moving now, but I think when it gets to that 41, that's going to be a different conversation that we'll be able to have. And then there's your middle school, high school, and then that current year total, that runs across, so 745 is our head count, with our FTE being 709. If you compare that to prior year totals, which is the number just below it, we are down 19 in terms of head count, and we are down 16.2 in terms of FTE. Okay? Don't start freaking out yet. We've got a little ways to go. Yes, those numbers are concerning. Anytime there's a negative in front of it, absolutely, because that's less funding. What I would like you to really look at, if you'll look at the the current year totals and the prior year totals, so it's going to be the next to bottom and the one right above that. If you look at the prior year totals in kindergarten last year, we had 41 kids, right? So we had 41 kindergartners last school year. And if you go up at an angle, that number jumps to 47 because that kindergarten class gained 6 students. Okay, so you can make that comparison. If you look up at an angle and up to the right, it shows you what each class did from last year to this year. And if you notice, most of them went up. Okay, the issue is what we're seeing, and I'll really highlight it in probably my last slide, is our graduating classes compared to our kindergarten classes, our incoming kindergarten classes. Okay, so yes, as I said, the negative in front of the 16.2 absolutely is concerning. But knowing how we're losing them, and then here in a second when I talk about weightings, is why we're not, being as concerned as we need to yet. Okay? So as we break down the head count, and this is just kind of highlighting of those, if you look at 24-25, we're at 764 and we drop down to 745. That's a difference of 19 students within our building and in our rooms. And then you look at that FTE, that's what we get funding from, that number. We are down 16.2 kids in terms of our FTE. And that's just a blowing up of what was on that last table. Now, our weightings, now this is the part that is the part of the current finance formula that reflects the extra costs that districts may see. And so we've got 6 different categories that we get weightings in. And so each one of those numbers, so that 247.8, that's an extra 247.8 students that get added to our enrollment that we then get funding for. So our low and high enrollment, that one's just to balance out and to equalize those schools that have low enrollment, which is us, and that's where we get the 200 and some students. Or if you have a super high enrollment, because that costs more, you also get some more funding for that as well. CTE is our technical ed, bilingual is dual language speakers at risk. Now this is just free meals in this setting. Megan's going to talk in a little bit about at risk at the pre-K, and that there's a bunch of different ways to qualify for that. The only way you get at risk, and the only way we get extra dollars for at risk, is if a student qualifies for free meals. Okay, you'll hear free and reduced, but free is really all that matters. Okay. And then high density at risk, that is a deal that when you have a high concentration of at-risk students in one location or living in one area or in one school, you also get some more funding for that. And then transportation, is funding for students that live 2.5 miles from schools, okay? So some columns here. So the first column is that 24-25 column. Those are the numbers that was turned in that we turned into the state last year on 9/20, okay? So pretty close. That's what the budget was kind of based off of. We kind of use those numbers and we get what we call the legal max. And then the state says, this is how much money you cannot spend over this amount of money. Then they come in the winter and they audit it. And they audit all these accounts and they look at all those numbers and everything that the secretaries turn in. And it gets just adjusted a little bit. And as you can see, we lost 10 students off of those ratings. We gained some, but then we lost some. And then the 25-26 column is what we just turned into the state. That number still needs to be audited. But like I said, we're usually around 10 students plus minus. If it's minus, then we've got to take a little away. If it's plus, then we're talking about republishing the budget if we have to. Okay? And then I took the difference between not the audited columns, so the two white columns. And if you look at that, we are slated to have 25.6 more students in terms of weighting this year than we did last year. Okay? So if you add all that together, you add the FTEs plus your weightings, we should, as long as our weightings hold up, be in the plus of 27.4 students for this year. Okay. Now, what we see is what's hurting us here is our graduating classes versus our incoming kindergarten. And if you look at this year, say 25-26, we have 32 kindergartners in 312 right now. Previous May, so last year, we had 67 seniors walk across the stage. So we sent 67 out, brought in 32. That's a difference of 35 kids. Now, if you remember back, we're only a difference of 19 in our head count. So we've gained more kids coming in, but the huge difference between our seniors graduating and our incoming kindergartners is where we're really seeing that difference. Are we still declining? Yes. But to me, as we start planning for the future and planning ahead, this makes it easier to be able to because we know where it's coming from. Okay? And then you can kind of see what's happened each year with that. We hope we're slated to we have more fours this year. Megan will talk more about that than 32. So we hope that we have more kindergartners next year. We start rebounding. And then the last deal is our exit data, and we had 15 students exit out of our system between that were enrolled with us last year that enrolled or went somewhere else. So I will open it up for questions, but I think probably in this role and admin, we certainly get concerned, and it's all about how many people we get in our seats, and we knew kind of this was coming, but I think we're in as good as a place as we can be, with our early ed and pre-K growing and graduating bigger classes than we're coming in. I think we're in as good a place as we can be in terms of enrollment.
Just find out one specific thing, but do you have thoughts on small classes coming in versus big ones going out? Like, is that homeschool?
No, I don't think babies aren't being born. This kindergarten class is the group that was born during COVID. So I don't think people wanted to have babies after that.
That's a spike.
But the birth rate studies that Reno County did when we had to be part of the child care stuff, they're down. They're down quite a bit. But as Megan will talk about here in a little bit, our fours numbers are up. So now we just got to get them to come over. So, but I think that helps us. What I would say, right sizing the district, or because if we lost 4 out of every class, that's over 60 some kids. That it's really hard to start cutting teachers if you just decrease a class by 3. Yep. But you really have to, because that's a lot of money that you lose.
Do we know if this is a trend across other schools? I mean, are we seeing the same numbers across?
Lower in the, incoming into the elementary, yes, because of the low birth rates.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, some of the superintendents I've talked to, they're not seeing as many move-ins as we are, in terms of those students that have come into our buildings, not out of district, just the move-ins. Kind of thing. That's all I got in terms of that.
Any other questions in regards to that? All right, sounds good. We'll move on to item 5, winter weather considerations. Once again, just consideration, no action.
Yeah, so this is more yearly deal as we go into, as we get into October already, the end of the first quarter, as we go into November, and who knows what the state of Kansas is gonna bring us, but you know, I'd like to talk about this and just a heads up that at the end of October, I'll send my yearly letter out to families and say, kind of, here's our process, and you know, we'll do everything possible to make the call the night before, but if we can't, as early as possible the next day, Chad and I get up and take the 2 sides of the district, and superintendents, all the 4 or 5 superintendents within Reno County are texting the night before and doing the same exact thing. And then we kind of make that decision, and you know, it's been my practice with some team drivers that if, you know, being, you know, caution on, or err on the side of caution, and we can always make those days up, and we will continue to do that. Knowing that we have, let me make sure I double check, we have 9 snow days built into our schedule. So remember, if we use half days, that doesn't count towards our minutes, but if we do a whole day, then we have to then take that away. Obviously, we certainly want kids in our seats, but want to make sure that we're being safe and mindful of that. So I'll answer any questions or any thoughts on that process, but it's really one of those things that we kind of watch the weather. We get an email from the county if anything's coming in, and we send it out, and Chad and I make a plan of, I'll call you at this time, and I head one way, and he takes this side, and I take that side, and then we take that and kind of what everybody else is saying and make our decision.
How many did we have last year?
About the same.
About the same?
Yeah.
Wait, because we used like right up.
We were pretty close.
Pretty
last
close
year.
to all of them. And
Fog days got you.
I can't
Say that
remember.
Fog.
We use fog for late start, which that's hard to, by the time, the one time we didn't, and the fog came back in, and then the next day we did, I'm glad we did, so not never knowing when that's gonna hit, but yes, it'd be that too.
And I can look back at my notes, and if somebody that might be more involved in it, there was like an issue because there was some kids that were doing interns in other buildings, like some of the high school students that were interning, I think maybe at the grade school or some of the other ones that were not, they weren't able to get in enough of.
So yeah, so yes, I think what happened when during that time they were missing out on hours, but I think they got it. Did they get it figured out?
Yeah, as far as I know, everybody got it worked out and made up their hours. Yeah.
I just didn't know
I
if
think it
that's
was
something
tight,
that we
super
want to
tight.
make
Yes.
sure that if we fill that, there's ways to make
And
sure.
I just visited with Jessica Wilson, who's overseeing internships last week, and talked about like a deadline. She was gonna go ahead and get the hours where kids were at now to them so that they can kind of plan ahead for that, and then we had a buffer week in there to make up. So
Okay, good.
if that happened again, there would be some extra time to make those up, so.
Okay, good. Because I'd rather us be safe with the weather versus, but
Oh,
if we can,
absolutely.
if there's something we can do to make sure
Yeah,
that
and
like
some of those
planning.
other internships, like, you can go make them up on a Saturday or Sunday if the business is open, but that doesn't work in a school setting, so,
Right.
yeah.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Okay, very good. Anything else? Feel good about that? All right, so item 6, capital outlay update.
So, I had shared a sheet with you. We're not going to use that sheet tonight. We will use that next month. Chris is going to come up and talk through some items, HVAC, roof, and then we can talk a little bit about the track. Really, what I need from tonight is direction of the board. Obviously, we've spent into our cash reserves of capital outlay. We're not bringing in as much in revenue in terms of taxes. And so does the board want to build that cash balance back up? Are you okay with it being below $1 million and then still being able to do the yearly projects that we've done in terms of HVAC that are part of our rotation and not have a fax room, a bigger project like that and really stay to the schedule? Or are you wanting to really look at one of those other projects that are on the list, and we'll bring those back next month as well. And then that'll give me a little more direction on how to plug in the budgeted type numbers in that other sheet. And then as I track that kind of throughout the year, comparing that to what Christy prints off of our budget software. But kind of just where we're at in capital outlay. And so we carried over $779,000 last year. And so that was a little higher than what we thought we were going to carry over. We were able to transfer some there at the end. Our revenue from our 4.092 mills is going to be $458,000. We do not receive any state aid for capital outlay in USD 312. Okay, and so a district like Bueller, they get 13% or something like that. And so because we have such a high assessed valuation, we do not receive any state aid in this area. So that means we'll have about $1.2 million available in capital outlay. I average the sweep account, which is about $234,000, it's starting to drop down a little bit each month. Last month it was about $15,000 that it brought in. But then if you take obviously our energy lease, which we know we have to pay off for another 2 years, this year's payment is $258,000, almost $259,000. And then we did make the bus purchase, which Chad and I will be bringing back next month to discuss, because when we went to buy it, they added the tariffs and the things to it, and we need to have a discussion as a board, or you guys need to have a discussion as a board, is if you want to pay for those and move forward with them. So that could get added back. It's going to be about $10,000 or so added to that with the tariffs and costs from that. So that was not part of the original quote. Okay. So that's that. If it doesn't take out, you can obviously turn that to black and it would get added in. That leaves us just a little over $1 million to spend. I don't mean to spend it all, but we could spend in capital outlay. Yes, budgeted money, available money that would be in our account. With all that said, we have HVAC that we have a rotation, and Chris is going to talk through that, and we have our roofs that are two really big things that have a constant rotation that we're trying to stay ahead of, so we don't have this huge deferred maintenance type bill where we have to do all of our roofs. And so we're taking a little bit or doing a little sections each time. So Chris is going to come up and talk about those two things. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the track and what the plan was, and if the board wants to do anything different with that. And then, like I said, we can talk a little bit about those big ticketed items that are still out there. Or my plan will be to bring those back again next month and talk more detail in terms of what the budget, in terms of the capital outlay itself looks like. So Chris, you're up.
All right. I guess I should have went ahead and put this in the drive instead of just printing off, telling you had it. So what you wanted me to talk about? So roof leaks within our district we have, and a little bit about on the HVAC, and then building controls that are getting outdated too. So I'll start off with the roof leaks. Over this last year, we had, at the high school, we had 12 roof leaks that were reported, and at the middle school we had 4, and at Haven Grade School we had 5, and some of those get repeated over and over and over and over, and we can't quite get them fixed. But the 2 areas that I have highlighted in red are the ones that we kind of that we've been talking about. The math hallway and the science lab have showed some signs of deterioration on the roof. They're bubbling up. And when Reyes came out, those are the ones they recommended doing. And those, you know, to do both of them would be around $77,000. But as I said, I put up on top that all of our roofs are under warranty till 2030. So it's not something we have to do. Ray's gonna come out and work on any of those, and we won't get charged for anything they do. So just wanna let you know that, you know, if the money's not there, these roofs can, 2030 is when we're actually, one of them's out of warranty at that point. The metal roof on the middle school gym is a roof that continues to leak, and they really can't repair it because it's a metal seam roof, and it's getting in the metal seam, and they really can't get up there and repair that. You'll see that on our walls. We repainted the walls, and you'll see it down the walls. You'll see where it looked like water ran down the walls. So that's one that we need to consider doing. And as far as the HVAC systems, we have 32 of them that were put in 2008 energy that you're getting ready to pay off. Those were all put in during that energy deal. Those, and the recommendation is every 15 to 20 years you start replacing units, so all 32 of those are getting to the end of their life expectancy. But they're all running. We really haven't had many issues with them. So once again, it just comes to a matter of what we want to spend our money on or where you want to go with that. So I'm not going to just make a recommendation to replace them if they're not messing up, but they are in their time of replacement on those.
Are they under any kind of warranty?
No warranty on those. Those usually rooftop units are going to be out of warranty within 5 years probably on everything.
Is that likely a future bond type item to have that many?
Yeah, when you get to that big, we're trying to see if we could knock some of them out, like, and come back with a plan next month. But we
And I had wrote on that, and I don't know, I guess you didn't really talk about that extra money that you had.
There were.
Maybe, okay. So we I talked to Craig about it, and that extra money that we do have, if we were to do units this year, there were 5 units that were on the Yoder roof that would just take care of that whole building for the next 10 years. We'd have every unit on top of that roof would be still good until we need to start looking at replacing them. The grade school has like 22 of them, or 26, so I was thinking more just to knock off at least Yoder, and then maybe Haven Grade will be a bond. I mean, we're banking, you're just hoping you pass a bond, so that's why I don't really like to just hold off on not doing them. And the other thing that was done with the energy deal was all the building controls were put on our building during that time. And so those are all 18 years old, and they're a lot like a computer. They got a lot of memory and a lot of stuff in them that gets outdated. And at this point, when we come to have them come out and work on this stuff, they can hardly get the parts, and we're just trying to keep them up and running. And I did at Yoder, I had a 5-star controls come out, and just to do Yoder is $42,000. That's just one number I had, but that's something we need to be considering too in the future, is we're gonna have to update all of our controls because they're starting to get outdated and messing up on us. And the last thing I wrote on there was the Haven track. I've had several companies come back out and look at it, and the last one came in and they're confident we can run another year on it, but they want me to fix the new cracks that have happened over the year that we repaired some last year. They liked the repair work, and they said if you can do the same thing on the new cracks, that they're confident that we can make it through this season, but everybody agrees the track needs to be replaced.
when you say replace, Because that means, I think, I've, like, the
Okay.
top, to tearing it completely out, what's that replacement mean? Because if we can get through another season and then have the conversation of doing something, what's that look like?
So there's, yeah, I said that statement to replace to another company too. They just came out and to them replace, and what I was just talking replace were different. They were thinking replace, because our asphalt up underneath the track is starting to crack all over the track. We're getting more and more cracks. They talked replace like we're gonna take all the asphalt out, start all over, and now we're getting into a lot of money. My recommendation at this point would be tear off the rubber at that point, all the rubber that's on there, and they'll fix the cracks as well as they can. If they have to cut the cracks out and re-pour more asphalt in there, they'll try to repair that as well as they can, which they have done in the previous times when they did it, and then cover it with just rubber, which would be a cheaper option. But I would think if we were going to completely replace, that'd be another one, you hope, probably bond, because it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah, because you'd want to make sure that we aren't just covering up, putting new stuff on top of a bad foundation. You're just gonna, the
Yeah.
new stuff is gonna crack, and
Yeah,
I get it's to save money, but if you're gonna constantly run into the same problems you're having now, if your foundation underneath it isn't good.
this track's, I don't know why we can't find it, and I can't find it. I was in the district and I should have it. I can't even remember when the track was done, but the recommendation is every 10 years, and I know it's been longer than 10 years since we've had our track recoated, so or resurfaced. So most everyone has it, their gut feeling is our track foundation is in good shape. It's just a few cracks. They don't feel that we're gonna have to tear it out. They think they're just gonna have to fix the cracks.
Didn't he 8 years ago resurface the track?
That was about 5 years ago, and that wasn't a resurface, that was just a respray. So all they did was came and resprayed, and they said it would last about 5 years, and this is the 5th year. And it really did work. It held the rubber together, and surprisingly, I didn't have as much faith in it as it did. It did a good job. But it's starting now to where if you walk around the edges, you'll just see a bunch of the little rubber all around the edges, which we didn't have that for 3 or 4 years.
If you remember, a year ago when we were having this conversation, the plan was to fix the track out of next year's money, which will still have to be the plan, but we thought we'd be able to get it done before track season started. They won't give us a warranty if we get it done before too early, and then they thought we could make it through the summer, so you could even do it another year out in terms of money now if you wanted to.
So they don't like to they won't warranty because of the cooler weather, but it won't adhere to the surface. If we were to do it right now, they would do it under warranty, but they don't want it. We were talking come in March, spring break or something, and they feel the weather's too cold at that point, so most likely they wouldn't warranty the surface. So they're thinking if we're not doing it right now, up to November or whatever, then it should be a summer project.
So, but the money, is that what the money was set aside in the budget for last year's at the track repair?
I wouldn't say set aside, it was kind of there, talked about, but it just kind of flowed into the rest of the capital outlay. Once the board decided to take it out of next year's money.
Okay, so that budgeted amount then just doesn't go any further, just never got.
It doesn't get used.
Okay.
Yeah, I think when Clark, I don't know if Chris was on the board at that point, but Clark started where we knew the track was, I think maybe when we did the resurface is maybe when it happened. He started knowing that was gonna cost around, 100-some thousand, so he was like, we need to put 10 away every year. So by the time we get there, that money would be there. So I think that's probably what.
And that is in there since the last,
Mm-hmm.
but then, like I said, the board decided let's just take it out of next year's money and then I did budget into this year, so.
So what are we looking at to go and redo it?
The lowest bid I've seen so far is around 190,000.
Now, can we see the different bids as far as like the complete redone.
To tear
So-
out completely.
Yeah, the complete redone, the middle where the foundation is good, fix the cracks and resurface it to whatever it's gonna cost just to limp it by.
Yeah.
Is that some, do you have those options?
I can get a price for completely tear out with the other company that came out. I think, I mean, like I'm gonna say, I think the cracks can be repaired. I don't think we're just doing a limp by doing it that way, because I think we'll still get our 10 years they recommend out of it if we do it. But they just don't know, with some of the cracks we have, they just don't know. There's always a concern when they take it off, they're gonna get the rubber off and they're gonna say, oh, that's when they're gonna find out where our foundation might be worse than what we think it is. But everybody's pretty convinced the foundation is in decent shape.
We'll bring all those in the spring, with what you're asking for. Is
Okay.
it just the spraying, the tear out the top, completely we'll bring all
Yeah,
the
cause I have
options.
that spreadsheet in it, that, and I think I sent it over to you for all investment projects, is what the costs, and then how many students it affects, what risks we'd be looking at, and then what outcomes, and then you can actually really justify down which projects affect the most students, are the most cost effective, and you can break them out that way and really do our due diligence and see what really needs to be done and how we can get as much done as possible, most cost effective way.
I know one of the other things that have been brought up, and I don't know that we want to go there. I think that means where Jared or Laura or whoever would talk, is we have a 6-lane track, which keeps us from hosting like a regional or something. And the last company that came out, when we put the bleachers in, brand new bleachers, that kind of hurt the thought if we'd ever want to go to 7 lanes, but they did tell me that they could make it longer, like the track could be longer and the edges will be just a little sharper corner. So that would be, more of an expense to make our track longer too, to get 7 lanes. So that'd be another more expense, because you'd have to move fences and sidewalks.
So the track we'll bring back in the spring, with all those, like, here's what it looks like if we just spray it, here's how long it'll get us, and have more options. The HVAC and the roofs, we have things I think that, we'll bring as a plan in November for you all to approve and say, here's the units that we want to move forward, and the next year and year after that. Roofs, we've got a little bit of wiggle room, but also knowing that there are some things that, while they're under warranty, that could certainly be fixed. What I ask for the board now is for you guys to discuss, is it the board as a whole wants to build that cash reserve back up, because that'll play a part in the technology part of it, and what we do for what I say to Chris is, here's how much for roofs and HVAC and those kinds of things, and plan, or are you okay at, we're no longer want to have a cushion of $1 million, 700,000 is fine. And as I put in my update, we do have about a little over $880,000 coming back from ESSER. That will go into capital outlay. My recommendation will be to put that towards HVAC, because that was the original plan, and explain how that, the reason we have our CPA is to catch things like that, and it's one for the positive. And so that's what I need out of the board. If you guys kind of give me some direction in terms of that, so when we come back next month is saying, okay, Craig, we wanted to be at $1 million, okay, or we won't get to $1 million probably in a year, because we do have things that we still need to buy and do in terms of the district. I have capital expenses, but knowing as I start planning with that, so.
I do want them to at least know, like on our Haven Middle School gym, we are literally limping by to keep that gym running. One unit's already down completely. So I kind of wrote that, I want to get we've tried every option, they've just been too expensive, 400,000 being the cheapest. That I'm trying to find any option, like just to repair what we have, but they're 20-year-old units, and do we want to repair, put 20,000 in a 20-year-old unit? And so that there might be a day that that other unit just quits. We're just trying to keep them running, and I don't want it to, if it does happen that it comes down, I don't want you guys to be like shocked when you hear from somebody, hey, our gym's hot. Because it's getting to that point that it's become a problem.
And how much does that unit cost to replace? So,
Uh,
and if you
that-
said that, I
that I'm-
apologize if it was.
That one I'm still trying to, I had them give us some recommendations on it because the boiler's attached to it and our boiler's out of life expectancy on it, so I had them give me some options on that, which was around 400,000 to up to 700 was the prices I got. So then I went back to, now I'm gonna bring somebody, I have somebody else coming out this month to just say, okay, what's a unit gonna cost to replace? And our boiler, I think, will just keep, boiler just keeps running for some reason, but it's old. But I think we can look at a big, just what a new unit, I think it's a 25 ton, and they tell me about $4,000 to $5,000 a ton. So I guess 125 to 200,000 probably to replace one of them maybe. We'll bring those with part of next month.
This sort of seems like a sidetrack question, but I can go and explain why we had set, or 8 years ago, why we had set it at $1 million. Does our insurance, do we still have like to have like a $50,000 or $100,000 deductible if the roof goes out?
25.
25, so it has gone down. Okay, that's why I think we went set it
Yeah,
at
if our
million.
insurance, yeah, that's a great point, Ken. If our insurance had went to the percentage premium, I think that's a different conversation, and you know, probably talking to you guys of being ready to use contingency reserve, because it's a percentage of the total cost of the building. But our insurance, thankfully, they're set on not doing that. It's still at $25,000 per.
Okay. So that would make some difference to me, but that's why I've been sort of sticking that we need that $1 million just in case the roofs go, that we have the amount of money that we need.
I think this would be similar to like where my brain thinks in regards to the budget is not to sit there and say, okay, we want to stay at $1 million or we don't. I'd like to see what the proposals look like of the projects and the costs and the importance of them, and look at all of that and see where that leaves us. And then we can make decisions like, okay, maybe that's not as important this year, and so versus just saying, hey, I'm going to stick to $1 million, and then we don't know what we're leaving out that needs to be done. Or we're willing, oh, those 3 things are really important, so we're willing to drop down to that $700,000 because we want to get those things done, or we feel that those things really need to be done. And it's more of a trying to make the decisions based off of that versus just shooting a number out and then go that way. Does that make sense?
It does. My worry is this, if we drop below $1 million, we say, I'm fine with looking at everything. I think that's a very good idea, but then we get down to 700,000, and the next year, we don't bump bills or anything like that, and then we're back again. Well, now then we drop down to, okay, we did it all right last year, we can get back, and we drop down to 500,000. I mean, just as long as it doesn't become a pattern.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, there's nothing there.
That's why we're in this predicament with the 258,000, is because it was down at 0, they couldn't do anything.
But it looked to me that leaky roofs should have pretty high priority, if you look at anything.
Yeah, but if they're under warranty, how come they're not getting fixed?
These are leaks, different types of leaks. None of them are really, they're not, except for a few of them, are not bad. They're just hard to find. They're drips. They're not. So we have made a list up I reached out to principals last week, and it only seems to happen on the real heavy rains. So it could be, they're just hard to find. They're getting up there and looking, but they're hard to find. It could be, don't do it, and then a year later that leak comes back. So they've been, we had a few that were
Resurface
doing
that
at the
under warranty.
auditorium. That's why they just keep coming, and they'll just keep trying to repair them. But they're flat roofs, so that's why I always, Hutch has leaks all over. You call any district, flat roofs just leak. And you just never seem to beat them completely. Yoder not having any is pretty amazing, I think. They haven't had any leaks out there reported for a couple of years.
We repaired that one, call them back.
Yeah, the same company. But
So, I mean, it sounds like we're, I mean, from those who've spoken up anyway, we're willing to explore going below. I mean, if their justification is there, would I be correct in saying that?
I think, Chris, can you make us a list too of what you think is the highest priority? Through those
Yeah.
two, give Craig and go through and number them
Yep.
dollar-wise and what you think is the most important. That way.
And
that's why I know we've heard, like when Weens came through, the rooftops talking about all 30 of those too, but we've had units last 25 years. That's why I don't really keep pushing units, because until they start breaking down on me, I don't worry about them too much. But last time we started replacing them, there were a lot of the heating coils were blowing holes in them, and that's when we get carbon monoxide in classrooms, and then it becomes a concern. So they've been good units. Surprisingly, they ran real good, because everybody says that type of train unit, they're surprised, but they've been good units and running, holding up. But I just don't want all 40 of them at once to come bad on us, and we waited and set back on them.
On that Ween survey, we also had like some exterior type repairs on the grade school and high school. And
Yeah, we
that
didn't-
stuff, like,
We didn't really bring that up.
That's on the list, that bring back, we wanna get that in front of something,
yeah,
but yes, absolutely.
so like with the cracks in front of the school and the thing sagging on the side.
Yeah, but that's
Brickwork
from the
grade
metal,
school.
that's needing replaced on the roofs. That's where those leaks are probably coming from.
We'll bring it, it'll come next year.
So back to, the roofs are under warranty, I mean, so none of this would be warranty work then? Or very little bit of it, or can you
No,
give it?
they're not gonna, it's under warranty, well, they'll come in, I shouldn't really say warranty, but they'll come repair it. They're still gonna come repair it, but they're not gonna give us money back for.
They're not gonna warranty the repair, or they will, they
They'll
won't charge us
warranty all
for the repair?
repairs, they don't charge us for that, but they're not gonna warranty, like, give you money back on a roof.
So, yeah, so how long does that warranty last then?
That most of their warranties are 20 to 30 years, so our next roof, that's like, they could say, like, your warranty's not under repair anymore, so we're gonna start charging you. It's 2030 is our next roof.
And your question's like, why aren't, because I'm curious, the same thing, why isn't the metal roof on the middle school gym under warranty?
Yeah,
Yeah. Why wouldn't they come in and fix the metal roof around the middle school gym? Why isn't that?
The metal roof,
Or that?
it's a sand, they can try, but it's just,
they can't put a piece of new metal on the warranty or
no,
replace a piece of metal?
it's kind of pop riveted seam, and it's just real hard to get on there and try to figure out. Theirs they can go put on a modified roof, or the regular roof, they can go put their tar, or they can go put stuff that on a metal roof, it's hard to go in and put a patch on it to fix it. So,
There's a crimp that goes, it
Yeah,
comes up
no,
with
yeah,
crimps.
I know how they're put, yeah, I'm just surprised that they can't find that, or they can't, if it's under warranty, they couldn't replace a sheet or two where they thought it was leaking. If it's under warranty. But I don't know what the warranty reads either, I don't.
yeah, I don't really think that's
Duct tape and some
not replacement warranty like that. They, like,
Get up there and fix it.
Board work, they would copy.
Well, when we had Partridge, that roof still leaks. And that was brand new, right from the get-go. They didn't install it right, so it could be that it was never installed properly.
There's some spray coating they can put all on the seams, you'd think. I mean, there's so much
Yeah,
stuff
you
out there
can.
these days
You
to fix
can.
metal roofs.
they did it on the guttering over there, which helped slow it down a lot. They covered our guttering, because the bad part was all the guttering is, the way they built it, built all our building at the high school, the guttering is actually inside the wall. It's not outside the wall. So that guttering started rusting away and it had holes in it and then it would just leak right into our building. So they sprayed the rubber you're talking about, at least in that metal, and then they, during the bond, they covered up in the middle school. On that gym I'm talking about, they covered it up with rubber, and now it goes off the side on top of the roof. Yeah, it was bad design.
It is.
So just for my marching orders, bring back numbers to all this with a plan, and then allow you guys to work through that and see what you want to take off and on, and the total number.
Sounds good? Yeah. Okay. Do that. All right.
Will we get those numbers at the meeting or before, if I wanted to do this worksheet?
Would depend on the bids. We can push it to December, because some of it will be behind bids of getting numbers back, but we can get as many of them to you as they come to us. I will get them right to you. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Yep.
All right, and item 7, assessment data presentation.
Yeah, so admin and Megan's gonna come up.
We have some paper copies. Does anyone want a paper copy?
I love paper.
Apologize, some of the colors didn't print off real well, and I realized that today when we were going through this with DLT, but we'll do our best.
I like paper.
It's not livable.
All right, well, yeah, we'll jump in here. We've got a lot of data to go through today. Several different pieces here. So, just want to, you guys have probably heard this before, the balanced assessment system when we were talking KISA and the 4 fundamentals and those sorts of things. Just kind of want to remind you what that means, that you know, that we are looking at multiple pieces of data to see if what we're doing is working, to see if what our instruction is being effective, if students are, you know, grasping the concepts that we're teaching them, and are progressing as they should. So these are kind of your different categories. When we think about a balanced assessment system, we're looking at all these different things. So universal screeners, that's FastBridge that we give 3 times a year. We're going to go over that tonight. Diagnostic screening would be after FastBridge. So if a student is flagged as at risk, we're going to dig into that a little bit more. Do that diagnostic to see what specific skills they're missing or where we need to start with intervention. Progress monitoring would be, you know, either a weekly or bi-weekly short little assessment that we're going to see if we're making progress on those skills. That might be part of that MTSS process. Formative assessments are things that are typically happening in classrooms on kind of a daily or weekly or so forth basis to check for understanding and see if students are grasping concepts. Ideally that is, you know, guiding our instruction and giving the teachers feedback if what they have taught that day stuck. And then lastly, we have those summative assessments. That's something that's usually given at the end of the unit. Think of maybe a big final exam, or, you know, state assessments, those types of high-stake tests that we take at the end to kind of see how we do. And really all of this works together. As I mentioned, we don't want to depend on just one data point to give us a true picture of where a student's at. But we've worked hard to get some systems in place, and we're always refining that. But you know, how are we looking at this data? Are we taking the time to dig in? Doing that in district leadership team, in building leadership team. We do this at our late starts at the building level, and then at the classroom level within those PLCs or grade level meeting, those types of things. So just talking through and trying to determine, you know, what pieces of what we're doing are working and maybe where we could improve. Okay, so data that we're going to review today, we've got 3 categories that we're going to look at: FastBridge, state assessments, and ACTs. As a reminder, FastBridge is that assessment that is given 3 times a year, August, December, and May typically. And this is for pre-K 4 through 12th grade students. And we're looking at skills in reading, math, behavior, social, emotional, and you know, that's really what's guiding our MTSS groups and those small group interventions, those types of things. State assessments just given once a year. We typically have this data at the end of the school year in the spring. This year it was a new test. They had to renorm it, so we actually just got this within the last month. And that is just grades 3 through 8, 10th grade, and then 11th grade takes science and social studies as well. So, and that provides feedback on mastery of standards in each of those grade levels. And then I'm sure you all are familiar with ACT, and we're going to dig into that as well. So within FastBridge, I mentioned that we are testing in those 3 different areas. This just kind of details what skills we are testing at each grade level in different types of assessments. So it's hard to see, but that box down at the bottom, those 5 different colors, that is like when we talk about the progression for reading and how we get to be a reader that can comprehend text. We're starting on the left there with that phonemic awareness, and that's what we're looking for in that early reading test in pre-K1. And then we're moving along that continuum there, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. So those different skills are gained, you know, all the way through, but ultimately we're hoping to build, you know, readers that can comprehend what they're reading in all content areas. So I'm not going to talk through each of the grades, but I did link it on there, and I believe you guys have access to this presentation. If you wanted to click on at the bottom of each of those categories where it says specific skills, you can dig in and see specifically at each grade level what those skills look like. Okay. Anything else on that, Darby? No. Okay. I'm not sure what else. Did I skip one?
It's not showing that.
Okay. That's okay. Okay, so this is our historic data from FastBridge on reading. So here I'm looking at early reading for grades pre-K through 2, and then A reading on up. And so this is pretty typical. What we've kind of seen year to year is in the fall they come in a little bit lower than we'd like, and then we make some gains throughout the school year, and then we go back to summer and we come back in lower again. And so that's kind of teeter-tottered pretty consistently since we've been doing this the last, you know, 4.5 years now. And we've got some things to talk through here in a bit, why we think that might be happening. Math, we're a little bit disappointed here to see our first drop. We really felt like this was just progressing nicely and always showing an uptick each time we test. I'm sorry, I just kind of glazed over this, but the numbers that we're looking at here, everybody's familiar with these, I think, but green being at benchmark, yellow being some risk, and then red being high-risk students, and these are percentages, and we're ultimately, you know, we always talk about that goal of 80% of our students being at benchmark or in the green to be able to be effective in our classrooms and to reach all students with our core instruction. So you might also hear us say Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Those are those colors there. So again, we have seen a lot of really good growth across the district in math on that percent of students at benchmark, but did have a pretty significant drop this fall. Any questions on district data there? So now I do want to talk about some things that we have been discussing, some possible reasons that are contributing to, you know, some of this. We're always digging in, trying to look for reasons why, not always getting the answers that we want. But did want to point out that our graduating class of 2025 last year, they left us at 82% at benchmark in both reading and math. And so we're really proud of that. We feel like we got that class where they needed to be to exit and go on and be successful with their reading and math skills. They were replaced with this year's kindergarten class, so the class of 2038, who came in at 53% in reading and 50% in math. So, you know, that does attribute to some of that drop. Also want to point out that we had 30 new students at Haven Grade School, and I was curious, so I dug into those specific students a little bit, and found that 23 of them, or 77%, entered below benchmark in reading and or math, and that was pretty consistent in other buildings as well. Haven Grade just had the most. Yeah.
Were they, how old were they, those 30, were they all over,
Yes.
all grades?
Yeah, and I had it broken down by grade level, but there were some grades that there was only like 1 or 2
Yeah.
students, so I didn't want to include that here, but, yeah. Yeah, that was K6 here that I was looking at. And then obviously we've talked before about that summer slide. You know, when they're not with us every day and getting that daily instruction, there is bound to be a little bit of a summer slide. We've tried some different things with our summer school programming. This year we went from, previously we had done 4 days a week for a month. We tried to expand that a little bit and go 2 months, but 2 days a week instead, hoping that that would just help them have access to those that instruction throughout the summer. And our data didn't really support that that was, you know, a significant improvement there. So, and then in your boxes up there with the graphs, I did just want to point out, you know, we've had this emphasis on growing our early ed programs and seeing a lot of growth there. And this is something that we looked at when we made some of those decisions, but this shows in both reading and math, our kindergartners, where they came in, if they had pre-K or if they hadn't. So we're still seeing that pretty significant difference. So on the left, you'll see 62% of our preschoolers who had been in our kindergartners who had been in preschool came in at benchmark versus those who hadn't, only 33% came in at benchmark on reading, and then math there on the right. So again, this doesn't tell the whole story or, you know, why we're seeing the data that we do, but we do think some of these things are contributing to changes in our data. Okay, so we'll jump into individual grade levels here. This is preschool, so again, this is just 4-year-olds in preschool, all the way back to fall of 22. So if you see fall and spring, that's one class, they moved on, and then fall of 23, that's a whole new group of kiddos. So, you know, typically they come in, we work with them, they go up a little bit. We do seem to have a lot of preschoolers coming to us throughout the year, so we get a lot of new students throughout the year that maybe aren't with us the whole time. But we are really excited to see our data this year at the beginning of the year up as high as it is just to start in the fall. So we did have a high percentage of these kiddos last year as 3-year-olds. I think just getting used to being at school and knowing how to sit down and take this assessment with an adult is part of it. But we're excited that, you know, they're already pretty high for our preschool class this year. Okay. See if I can work. Can I go backwards? Yeah, down.
Okay, so now we'll follow the preschool class. If you look, Craig, are you on it or am I?
Sorry.
Okay, so this is the same cohort of kids. Let me go back again. Okay. Right. So if you look at fall, you'll see where the kindergarten class is currently, but you can also see where they were in preschool, spring and winter. Of course, that's just the students who attended our preschool. But then you can also see math, and you can see where they ended their year before, and then they're starting this year. Does that make sense on how to follow the graph? So you'll see 2nd and 3rd grade, reading and math, where they scored last year, and then where they are this year.
So this is pretty consistent with what we've seen the last couple of years and where we've seen our biggest concerns, obviously, that K2 data, specifically in reading. Obviously, we're not where we want to be with 33% of our 2nd grade class at benchmark this fall in reading. That's something we're continuing to look into. We've visited some other districts that are using similar curriculum programs as us. We have some ideas. We're implementing some things this fall, some changes.
I know we're trying to use PLC time to really support the teachers and dig into this data deeper for them too.
And you'll see here in a bit how that's kind of affected our state assessment scores as well.
4th and 5th grade. And then 6th grade. And then 7th and 8th, Adam, do you have anything?
Yeah, we'll talk about 7th and 8th grade today since Jared's not here. You can see on the far right there for each. The left we have 7th grade data. Fall 25 is what I'm going to mainly be talking about here for both reading and math. And then same thing on the right with our 8th graders. You'll see that fall 25, again, we got that dip, that summer slide. But after looking at individual student data, it's kind of eye-opening to me that this right here doesn't tell the whole story. Specifically, this applies to 7th grade and 8th grade. For the 7th grade, it's about 8 students who were in tier 2 or the yellow tier. We're only 1 question away from getting into the green. So if you look at our total numbers for 7th grade, I mean, that would bump that 59 up over close to 73, 74. For reading, for math, it was 3 students. So again, that would bump us up to about a 62. But really just 1 or 2 questions can make such a huge difference for so many of our students. Really, again, focusing on that core instruction that's happening in those reading and math classes. We're also doing a lot of instructional facilitator work this year, so we're having Corey and Tara, myself and Darby going in through classrooms once a month, looking to see what kind of engaging instruction our teachers are doing to hopefully improve our Tier 1 results for FastBridge.
Okay, so along the same lines of what's happening in the high schools and a lot of the same stuff that Adam just shared, one of the things that we are really looking into is that FastBridge is a risk screener. So a lot of these kids that are in the 78, we have 78% of our kids that have already reached benchmark in math. So kind of looking at how we assess those students, one of the things that we've discussed is if they have already met their spring benchmark in the fall, do we need to keep testing them? So that's some of the things that we're talking about. Again, they've already met their year's benchmark in the fall. Are we going to continue to test them in the winter and then again in the spring? Just having those conversations with students about, and creating that belief that if they show that they can do it up front, put that effort in and during that first assessment, that they would be off the hook, if you will, for winter and spring if they're already achieving that benchmark. Is a discussion that we've been having. Talked some of those discussions over with our TASM team. So just kind of seeing where we're at with that. We're just trying to make sure that we're utilizing our time in the classroom effectively, and that our small groups are running the way that they should be.
I apologize, I don't know what happened to the 9th and 10th grade slide. We've given this presentation 3 times now, and it was there, so it must have got deleted at some point, but I can get that to you. You didn't even notice, did they? I'm sure it was excellent. Okay, so before I move on to state assessments, any questions on FastBridge data or what we're doing there with MTSS or intervention? All right, so moving into state assessments, I think you've seen these before, but wanted to remind you of the new performance level indicators. So these are new labels that KSDE came out with for this last year's test. It's always been levels 1, 2, 3, 4, but they have new descriptors for them with those bolded words. Important to note that that we're talking about where they're at on their abilities within the grade level standards. So even if they're at a level 1, they're still working on grade level at a limited ability, at a basic ability, proficient, advanced, and so forth. So those are what you will see going on here. So I will explain kind of what you're looking at on this next chart, and then let Mr. Morrison talk about Haven grade. But so you charts for each grade level, you'll see at the bottom what grade level tested last fall, or last spring. So this would be last year's third graders, the class of 2034, who's now in fourth grade. You'll see ELA on the left, math on the right. The first set of data at the top is our district average per student compared to the state average. And then the data below it is going to be your percentage of students in each category, levels 1 through 4 as a district and as a state. And again, we're starting with not a highlight here, so I'll let Mr. Moore.
Yeah, so as we're going through the next couple slides, you'll see some things that you'll say, hey, that looks pretty good. You'll see some things like, this slide in particular, pretty concerning. That's not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, we're pretty concerned based on what this looks like. Now, to add a little context to that, I will say that cohort of kids has been a historically lower performing academic cohort of kids. It's got a pretty high proportion of students identified with IEPs. Again, that does not justify this, as we have high expectations for all of our students, but I think it adds some context. But nonetheless, you're looking at that correct. That's a high level of level ones for both math, for both reading. After I go over the next few slides, I'll talk a little bit more about, okay, now that we've got these results and we've got this data, what are we doing about it? But I certainly think this, adds a lot of purpose to all the work we're doing right now in relation to standards alignment and really emphasizing that we're teaching, those academic standards in the classroom in a rigorous way and giving authentic assessments that, allow us to know where kids are before it comes to the state assessment, and, we're getting those once-a-year results in. So we'll move forward.
I as disappointing as this is, and looking at our K2 fast bridge data too, I want to make sure we say that our teachers in those grade levels are working extremely hard. You go into those classes, you have conversations with them, they are trying different things, they are creative, and they are working their tails off and not getting the results that they're hoping for. And so I don't want this to be, it is discouraging for them, but they need to know that, that they're supported and that we're here to help them too, and this isn't on any one teacher or any one grade level.
100%. And when we shared this to our staff at our last Late Start, we talked about how, it's easy to say that, 6th grade is responsible for 6th grade data, 3rd grade is responsible for 3rd grade data, but at the end of the day, we're all responsible for how all of our students perform. I mean, my background was elementary PE, and what I told our staff was, even though I'm not teaching the reading standards, I'm not teaching the math standards, I'm still teaching kids how to think critically. I'm teaching kids how to problem solve, how to collaborate, how to set goals, and have grit and resilience and all those things that, might not show up directly on this, but certainly skills that translate over into all content areas. And again, we don't look at this as, certain teachers are responsible for certain, things. There's a lot that they can't control that goes into it, but we're focused on the things that we can control, and really owning our data and our scores as a team, and moving forward as a team. So as we move forward here, sorry Craig, I know that's pet peeve of yours. 4th grade, going backwards, I thought I had it. 4th grade, as you can see here, again, so then here in 4th grade, these kids for level 1s was lower than the state average, and those level 3s are higher than the state average, so, and overall, so a little bit of different story there. And again, we're a small district, it's a small sample size of kids, so there's going to be some variance from one grade level to the next. And then looking at 5th and 6th, I do want to clarify, 5th grade is one of the grade levels that takes science. It's the only grade level in our building that takes that science assessment. But again, digging in there, 13 points below average in ELA, a little bit more comparable in both math and both science. And then just taking a look at 6th grade, happily above state average for both ELA and for math there. But I said I was going to talk a little bit more about what we're doing about this. So the day after I received all of our state assessment results, I got these in the hands of those teachers, both the reports of all the students they had last year, but then also the reports of all the students they had this year. Planning to share that information out with families at conferences, The fall interim assessment window is currently open. It remains open throughout the month of October, so all these grade levels will be participating in that. The great thing about that is it will get us more specific information and data on where these kids are currently at with those standards. So what I love about it is you're not having to wait until you take that summative assessment in the spring and then waiting until whenever you get those results back to know where kids are. We're having more data points along the way to look at, having conversations in PLC where we're digging in and looking at, okay, where are we across the board, where are we above the state average, which strands, which standards, where are we below the state average, what are our takeaways, moving forward instructionally, what are the high priorities that we need to have. So I think that's it for the grade school, unless you guys have any questions.
I'll let you control it. You got it. So here's the 7th grade data for ELA math from state assessments last spring. You can see for ELA, below the state average. And when we think about state average too, we talked about it as a DLT even just today. I mean, that includes all your huge districts. So for me, the fact that we're 6 points behind the state average, even being at the state average, in my mind, that's not good enough. Okay? I want our kids to be well above where the state average line is at. But a lot of that data, when you look down below, are level 3 and level 4. So I hope all of our students eventually get to 39%. I believe if you combine those numbers together, quite a bit lower than what our FastBridge data shows for being either just right at benchmark or low risk for being below benchmark. In 8th grade, you'll see we also include science because all of our 8th grade students take the Science Day assessment. This is the first time that they have seen that assessment since 5th grade, so quite the gap. You can see there's definitely some growth that we need to be having in the science realm, but also across the board in all of those. Again, we just want to see our students, especially those level 1 moving up to level 2 to level 3 and so forth, and that starts with having an academically rigorous classroom. Starts by, as we go through new curriculum cycles, making sure that we're getting curriculum that's aligned with state standards and that our teachers are teaching those in the classroom.
Okay, so moving on to high school. So our freshmen get a little bit of a break from state assessments. And so at the high school, our sophomores take ELA and math, and our juniors take science. Are you going to talk about science?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about science,
So,
actually.
yes, 11th graders take science, and this is a new one, but they did not release any scores to us, and they're not going to release any scores to us. What I'm hearing, and it doesn't quite make sense to me, but that the scores were not a wide enough range to have the data that they wanted to be able to give us.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
We don't.
They didn't like data, so they didn't
Well,
tell
I
us.
mean, that, you could apply that, but I mean, like Megan said, I think there's just not enough range to have the 4 cut scores kind of what they had envisioned in their mind. But
So we didn't get science scores, but we did get ELA and math. Again, we have work to do, and just working on making sure that we are teaching our standards, that teachers know what they're supposed to be teaching, and going in and refining that process and looking at our curriculum and making sure that we're able to, pull out what we need to be teaching and when we need to be teaching it. Again, not terrible, and it is just a small section of our entire high school. That means that we only test sophomores, but just continue to do the hard work that we're doing, and hopefully, that will pay off, because I know our teachers spend a lot of time, considerable amount of time, whether it's teacher work days. We had a group of teachers in here today going through their standards and refining that work on a time that they could have just spent in their classroom. So.
Then the last piece that we have here is some ACT data. So on the left, that is our district average composite score over the last 5 years. So this last school year, 24-25, we had a nice little jump there, our highest over the last 5 years. So that's anyone that tested from Haven High School. They're kind of average there at the 20.3.
On the right, this was just kind of for fun, but, you know, we talk a lot about, and students talk a lot about wanting to be the best compared, you know, to districts, or to league schools. We want to be the best in sports, we want to be the best band, all of those things. So I thought it would be fun to pull just league schools and see where we ranked there. This is based on 23-24 scores because while we have access to our data from last year, we don't have access to every other district's data quite yet. So I like to think that, you know, based on our score last year with that jump, that we'd be right there at the top. Obviously, I don't know how the other league schools did at this point, but, you know, that 20.3 would put us at the top based on 23-24 scores. Questions?
Do you have any idea what the participation is in ACT scores? Like, are 80% of our kids taking it, or 100%, or?
Do you have an idea on that?
Almost all,
Almost all.
which is, I don't know what every other district does, but I wouldn't be surprised if every other district has all their students take it, or if they let students choose who'd like to take it. They're very high participation for ACT.
But isn't it mandatory for, what is it, juniors? It's mandatory to take?
But it could be a senior who wants to improve the score again, which we did have a couple of those last year. Probably a third of them.
So do you think that if it wasn't mandatory, and I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we don't need to make it not mandatory. I'm just saying that if you're looking at the scores and you have somebody that is being made to take the test that could really care less about taking the test, would drop.
There's a couple who opt
Yeah.
out.
It's,
There's some who's
it's
like,
offered, but
Yeah.
we have a day for it. They can take it at the building, and yeah, so we do have a high percentage, but they can't opt out.
I just didn't know if that would drag the scores down versus if other schools weren't,
yeah.
if it wasn't mandatory with other schools, so.
Or I'm sure there's some who get in there and then they're like, well, I didn't know this was gonna be a 3-hour test, or they get tired by the third section, so they really stop putting forth that effort. But I'm just impressed over the last 5 years that, you know, we're hitting that high for a 20.3 for us, and yet if you look at the state average, it's doing this every year and just continuously going down, and yet we're going up. So that should definitely end our data review on a high note.
So this is just a way of presenting data that we've talked about using with students too, that maybe that would be a motivating factor to know, you know, how we stack up against league schools. So that's all we got for assessment data.
Anything else for them? Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate that.
All right, got another one for you.
Yeah, and we're moving on to a little learners update.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sick.
It's not, all right. All right, so just some updates with all things little learners. We're gonna talk a little bit about pre-K and a lot about daycare, but wanted to start with just our enrollment history. So on the left, you'll see preschool numbers, and on the right, childcare numbers. So let's start with pre-K, and the numbers that you're looking at there, dating back to the 21-22 school year, are total number of preschoolers, and then broken down into, you know, Craig talked earlier about we only get funding in preschool for kiddos that are either on an IEP or identified as at risk. And so there's several criteria that we go through to determine if they are at risk. Those are some factors coming in, and then also how they do on those assessments at the beginning of the year. And then that white number is going to be other. So those are kids, preschool students that are attending, but we're not able to claim them for funding because they don't meet one of those requirements. At Yoder, that might mean that they're claimed by another district. So we have several students like from Nickerson or Pretty Prairie or some of those other districts, Fairfield, that are bused to us to receive special education services. And so those districts claim them. That's where a lot of those 16 come from this year. So yeah, this year we're up to 84 total preschoolers. Currently, and I guess I should say 6 of those have come to us since September 22nd, so we didn't get to count those. So current numbers are at 84. Over on the childcare side, so 23-24 was the first year that we had childcare, and if you remember, that was just the one room for what we call extended care at Yoder. It was still Yoder Charter School at that time. And then we had the building here that we had one room for infants and one room for infants and one room for toddlers. The following year, we amended our license, expanded what we were able to offer, and then also had the full building over there at Yoder. So, where we're at currently, down there at the bottom, we have 104 currently enrolled in a child care program. 12 of those are infants, 38 are toddlers, ages like 1 to not preschool age, so 3, and then preschool age.
You're always.
And then that last category is school age. So we offered that school age program this last summer for grades K through 3 and had 13 students or children attend that. So next, just a little bit of an overview on staffing in each building, how many staff members we have in each of those spaces. So Yoder, obviously we have the preschool programs. We've partnered with the Early Ed Center out of Hutch. They have a couple classrooms over there. We have 2 to 5-year-old childcare, and then that school age summer care program, and you can see how many staff members are listed there. On the right is the Haven Center, and that is just 0 to 24 month childcare and the amount of, or the positions that we have filled there. Those part-time positions at both are almost all, if not all, high school students that work for us, or college age students that work for us, like after school hours. And then this year, for the first time, we are so fortunate that we have a full-time sub to share between both buildings. That has worked out so nice. Craig and I aren't getting called to sub at the daycare, and it's just taken a lot of stress off of people in those spaces. So, because we're not a lot of help when we show up. But.
Craig's not?
They want me to give direction, I'm like, just tell me what to do.
Okay, so total we're at about 34 district staff members between these spaces, and then obviously our RCEC employees that provide some of those other supports. All right, so we have been really fortunate over the last few years to receive a considerable amount of grant funds to get us going and keep us going. So total there on the left, all of those grants that we've received, you're looking at about $471,000 that we've received to, do those projects that are listed on the right. You can see some pictures of some of those projects. Maintenance has been awesome in getting a lot of that work done as well, but playground updates at both facilities, added 4 classroom bathrooms, 1 here and 3 in Yoder, which if you've ever potty trained, like 14 2-year-olds at once, that's a little bit of a challenge. So having that classroom bathroom has been really great. Some plumbing costs, we had to meet regulations, had to have running water in any room that has children that are diapered, and so had to do some work there. Those of you that have been past the Yoder building have seen the expanded driveway that has helped so much with pick up and drop off out there, with all of those buses coming in from other districts, and parents 3 times a day. That has been a great addition there. Again, to meet regulations, we had to add those emergency exits to classrooms, so they had to have 2 exits, where under just K-12 guidelines, that's not always the case. We've done some gym updates in Yoder, adding that curtain down the middle, adding some rubber flooring for little people that fall a lot has been nice. And then obviously a lot of furniture, supplies, basically everything that we've bought to fund this so far has been through grant funds. So I do want to mention that retention grant, that last one listed on there, is based on our enrollment, and we apply for it each quarter. It's typically between $25,000 and $30,000 each quarter that we receive from that, and that is ending at the end of this year. So that was all. These are all ARPA funds that will be running out soon, and so we've really been knowing that end date is coming and working to kind of reserve some of that money, but also get to a place where we're self-sustainable, not depending on those funds to keep us running from month to month. Okay, so just some basic budget numbers here. These are weekly numbers. So that first number up there is weekly fee income from families. So we've, done some changes with what tuition costs, and we feel like we're to a place now that we are matching the rest of the county and still able to offer, you know, an affordable rate for our families. But we're bringing in about $11,800 per week in fee income. However, at capacity, that number would jump up to about $12,300. So we are currently full for infants all the way through 3-year-olds, but we do have some preschool age openings for childcare. And these numbers are strictly childcare, not preschool. So, so I'm talking like that other half of the day for preschool, that extended care option. We do have like 6 more slots there. So we're all full except that. But at capacity would be at about $12,300. Currently bringing in about $2,000 a week with that retention grant, knowing that's coming to an end. We offer a 25% discount to any staff employees, so anyone that works for the district gets that discount, and that's about $400 a week that you know, comes off of what we make. And then that last one there is our cost in wages and insurance for childcare employees. This is just childcare again. So as you can see, we're just covering that staffing cost with our weekly fee income. And then obviously we have that employee discount that comes off up there too. So we feel like we're right at break-even point here when that retention grant drops off.
That's something to be excited about,
Oh, yeah.
guys. I mean, like, daycares don't make money, and Megan's got one that's right now is making money. I mean, and I won't hear it in December, back to breaking even, but this is very impressive. The work her and her team has done on this, and is beyond impressive.
Can you write any more grants? Can you find
Sure.
Seems to have been working out pretty good so far.
Yeah.
Let's go find some more money in your spare time.
Yeah, we'll keep, I mean, if they bring them to me, I'll keep writing them, sure. We like free money, and we've been able to do some really
Find some
cool
room
stuff.
grants,
But,
but-
yeah, rooms, you know, yeah, I hope so we can find some more. But I'll let Craig kind of talk through next steps, but obviously this has turned into a little more than I ever thought it would. But I'll let him kind of talk about where we're at and where we're headed.
Yeah, so I've kind of led up to this in my updates with you, but I think we're at that point, and not at a point to the board to make a decision, but you know, when we come back into the spring to start this conversation up. And so kind of really have, you know, we want to continue our partnership with the early ed with RCEC and early ed childhood with them, and you know, that partnership has helped us grow, and it's been beneficial in paying for some of our staff. I think it's we're looking at a model to incorporate more classes that are more 50-50, and so it's going to models that look like we'll be able to serve all students.
Can I speak?
Yeah,
Sorry,
please do,
speak
please
on
do,
that
because
just real
yes.
quick? That has been such a good partnership for us to have basically 3 different programs in that building. We've got our 312 preschool, we've got early ed preschool, which are 50-50 IEP peer model programs, and then the childcare program there. And just seeing those staff over the last 3 years collaborate and be able to bounce ideas off each other and have a team to work with versus, you know, the 2 teachers that we had before. Having those special education students in our building has been really, really good for our teachers and our students. And it's been really cool to see those teams come together.
We are going to continue to find ways to let our communities know that this product is out there and it's a good product, and the importance of it through site councils, through social media, through you know, the Kids Collective and Reno County and those kinds of things, to make sure we're continuing to push that information. And then the last step that really we'll have I think the board to circle back to in the spring is, what's the program administrator for our early ed look like? And I want you to just remember, this is Megan and I's 4th year in our positions, and when we both took our positions the same year, the pre-K was all we had, and it was located in the church, and all they had were 2 classrooms and 1 para. So there were 3 adults in that building. Megan didn't have to do anything They took care of everything. They enrolled, they answered the phones. Everything was done by those 3 ladies. And we made all these changes, and now there's 35 employees. And so I think, not that Megan, she can't do it because she's been doing it, but the need in that area of her job is certainly much more. And we talked a lot about adding to the plate, and when you add 35 or 33 more employees to somebody's plate, just the everyday part of that, will be something that I will ask the board to look at in the spring and bring a couple options. That's one option. Finding someone to help with those duties. I don't think we're ready for a director of early childhood. I put that up there. I don't think we're big enough for that app, but somebody like Emmy who is taking on some of those roles, but even more so, and a title that would go with that. Or we could continue as is, and Megan will, and whoever, Emmy and the directors and such will continue to have some long days and covering and those kinds of things. Or another option, and we can bring more information to this, is partnering with a new organization called the Kids Collective. And Megan can speak a little more to this. They just formed. We knew going into this that when we started this work that we had to move. One, the need was there, and two, we thought we could get ahead of the market. Now, some of the other districts in our county we're a little behind that, and so now there's a collective that is working with them, but I'll kind of give Megan you the details that we have now.
So this was kind of born from that early childhood task force, that Reno County group that I worked a lot with in getting these grants and they've been so helpful in licensing and all of that. But from that, they've developed this Kids Collective nonprofit where I like to think of it as kind of like RCEC is for SPED. They oversee, they're working towards overseeing, doing more of the administrative work for child care centers in the county. So right now, Abundant Life is part of this, and then also Bueller Schools, their child care centers are part of this in kind of their pilot year. They're anticipating taking on more centers in the next year or two. But those are some of the tasks that they oversee. We would still have a child care director in our buildings, but they would, take care of everything as far as licensure, our annual renewal, making sure that we're compliant in all of those spaces, hiring, all the HR stuff. They would be their employees. So, pros and cons to that. We could talk more about that, but and then they process all the tuition, all of that, take on the enrollment, daily operations of the facility. Obviously, we give up a lot of control if we go this direction, which does make me nervous, but also that takes a lot off of not only my plate, but Christy and HR and lots of other people too. So, pros and cons, but that's an option that's out there or coming or that we have met with and looked into.
So I think the reason for this one, there were some questions from the board, like where we at with little learners, and certainly want to highlight the work that Megan and her team has done, but then also to make you guys aware that it's grown to a point where I think we've got to do something different in terms of the administration piece of that. What that looks like, there's a bunch of different options. If you're asking me, I would much rather keep it in district and they remain our employees and find somebody to help with that, and just because of the work that's been put into it. But that's kind of a second semester conversation, but we wanted to make sure you're hearing it now, so when we do come back, you're not like, well, where was this at before? But it is, as I said before, Megan and her team, the work that they put into this and where we are today compared to 4 years ago is so impressive and has made such a difference, I think, for our county and our community. So she can answer any questions that you might have.
Okay.
Any questions at all? Anything, little learners? All good? Okay. Item 9, consideration of approval of contracts and work agreements. So we have, I think there's several work agreements there you can see. We have high school wrestling assistant coach contract, and all those listed out there. So do we have any questions, comments, concerns about any of those? Of course, discuss that. If not, we're just looking to approve those. First from Ryan, Damon, all in favor, right hand?
I did have some questions.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know. I was just wondering, how is it gonna look? Are the coaches under the high school principal review, or how does that?
The athletic director is responsible for those. Or the head coach and the athletic director would be the assistants.
Okay, those would be the ones that would do the evaluation and all that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I assume you're talking about the wrestling, that was Mr. Kirkpatrick and Dustin, the coach,
Okay.
that did that.
That's, I'm just, you know.
Sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to speed on.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else?
Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. This is not nothing to apologize about at all. All right, we feel good? Yeah, good. First, second from Dan. First from Ryan, second from Dan. All in favor? Okay, 6-0. All right, item 10 here. I apologize for a little back and forth action on this board governance document. I knew it was going to be challenging to get the three of us on an additional meeting, and so I think it's important from where I'm sitting, I believe so, to have something that we can look at, and this is still the same document that Mr. Weedle used, and he confirmed to me that this was a KASB training, that all of this was basically maybe pared down, but all pulled from that. And I've found a couple districts out there that actually literally verbatim as far as some of these things, board member expectations, and because that's what we're focusing on here today. So through page 4, and then we'll end right before the board meeting section. But basically, those things were literally listed out word for word in the same order. So I would say with confidence, not that I don't trust Mr. Weedle, that that is in fact where that came from. And so,
I know it came from that.
yeah, you were here, weren't you? And so,
I got the,
oh, nice.
got the one from that.
Oh, good, very good. So yeah, goal idea is that we'll have kind of a consensus as a board of just, obviously it doesn't address every single little thing, but it gives you an overview of how you're going to try to operate. My goal is to have a third of it done today, a third of it kind of discussed in our next meeting, finish the last third in December, and that way in January that we have new board members coming in and board members that are remaining, and that we can all kind of just agree on these things. Certainly the board as a whole will agree on these things. And so, yeah, I obviously I'm somebody, I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time, but obviously it's not just me, it's all of us as a group, and so. We just kind of look through it section by section as far as, just start with mission statement and our vision statement. If anybody has anything in those sections that they say, I don't know about that, or anything you came in with, I'd love to hear that. Of course, our vision statement's something we read every week.
I will say those 9 are those, if you remember back to the needs assessment, those are those Rose standards. So
oh, yeah.
You could take those out, but you cannot change those. Those are law.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Very good point. So that whole mission, that whole section under there is in or out, basically. You know, again, me, personal opinion, if we're basically aligned with the state, and, you know, it makes sense to me to keep those things in there. Vision statement.
Did you add this here to the vision statement here, through intentional design system? Did you add that into the document?
I don't,
I don't think we had the
but
vision
that was
statement when that was originally done.
Well,
so
that's
you
why-
may have
So, yes,
updated.
so I think it was added at some point.
But it hasn't been added as per board approved, or?
Which one are you?
The vision
The
statement.
vision statement you guys approved when you approved the strategic plan. That was part of the strategic plan. The vision statement was on
So
the strategic plan.
Yeah, I know originally when we had done this, he made a few, things that were already basically done, right?
I just
mean,
like,
the
I
year-
added the vision, I don't think or the mission, and then the
The
district
mission-
goals are strategic goals.
The mission statement is word for word of what it was.
Yeah,
The vision statement was,
It's a little different.
was approved when you approved the strategic plan 2 years ago.
Okay.
alright, are we okay there? Okay, then we have our district goals, so those are, listed there. I know halfway down in there was the word redesign, which I know it talked about taking out, because that's no longer something.
So the district goals I have from our
They're-
last meeting are different.
These district goals that, on this one are the strategic plan goals.
Gotcha.
I put those in.
Oh, okay, very good.
So, yeah, because there's this whole ones from even our last meeting. Where did all those go? To improve staff morale through ongoing activities with encourage and support staff. To make all decisions with integrity and transparency. Like all
Gotcha,
that.
I think
That's all
looking
gone. Where did that go?
for these new printed ones here.
All of these. That's those right there.
Unless I put the wrong one.
It's in there.
It's not in this. That's, this is what we got last time we looked at it, and then this is what they gave us today, and that whole section's gone.
So they must have missed, because there's quite a bit of, that's missing out of the vision statement that I think we could probably leave in. Because I don't recall ever going and saying that we're gonna take all this out.
Sure, wondering if a different thing got printed. Yeah, because I brought the one we had from last time.
Yeah, we need this back in.
Oh, yep. That's what I did. I printed the wrong one that's in here. Yeah, because this one has the red. Yep, I will print you guys copies of them right now. I apologize.
Sorry about that.
That's cool.
That's okay.
Didn't change the goals yet, 'cause
Yeah.
So the one we should be looking at is the USD 312 Haven Schools governance docs,
yes.
not the 25, 22.
We were gonna just go through, it's through page 4, and then the very small, and the one I have, it's just before board meetings section. So it would basically be board member expectations, the vision statement, district goals. And then if we just kind of break it up that way, it,
Just wanted to make sure.
yeah,
Oh,
hopefully it won't be too much to bite off in any given night, and
I just share the correct one there. For all you guys needs in Megan's presentation.
You just email them or you put them?
Share it. It's in the drive.
You said you just put it in
yeah, just to go to your email, it's,
the. Oh, it's in the.
yeah, you can
emails?
just actually share it out from your email.
I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
Oh.
Wow.
It is warm.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, so, yeah, I mean, the first page, there's the description there at the top, page 2. Has us working together as a, uses language board team. We're right now 6 individuals, soon hopefully going to be 7 in a few months, and we function as a team in that sense for our district and community and all those things. Then again, mission statement. Things listed out.
That's an old one.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, well, sorry.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot missing from the one that I have compared to what we have now. And I'm just wondering, when did we vote to change a lot of this? I know you said.
Well, this isn't, I mean,
There's never been a vote, this isn't an official document.
I
There's never been
think,
a vote.
I believe that when I was on, that this was the official.
the way I understood it is we each year would sign, and so I think we had quit, that hadn't happened. And so this isn't until we all sign it. I mean, we approve it and then,
So the last one that would have been signed would have been this, correct? The one in 2021?
Been before my time.
Yeah, that,
So.
and so we dug this. I don't know if he has that in his drive. We went and found what was there in the drive. So, and, there were some things that were left from Mr. Weedle. So I wasn't here when that one was
yeah,
there.
that's what I'm saying, that
And
I'm
so-
just trying to figure out
I
if
don't,
this was our basis for operation up until now. Do we go reprint this to go from there? I'm just asking questions,
Sure.
not trying to.
no, yeah,
Well,
I
maybe
haven't
like-
seen that. I didn't know anyone had a copy of that, to be honest. I didn't know it existed,
Well, I just was assuming that it was,
No, you're fine. I mean,
until I dug it out today and go, wait a minute, this isn't lining up.
yeah. What's in there that's not in these first 4 pages, what's included there?
After the meeting, I make a copy of this and share it with you, that,
Okay.
you can share it with everybody or whatever.
Okay.
That way you know that this was the original, that, as far as I
Sure.
know, was signed.
Yeah.
Like, let's
And then-
go ahead and go through this, and then, or do you have some other suggestion?
My only other suggestion was would we take it half and half in the next 2 months? We just move on tonight. Everybody gets that. They have a whole month, and then we'll all be on the same page, and we'll do 1 through 6-ish, and then we'll do 6 through 12. Or we'll break it out like
Okay.
basically half and half.
But
Is that okay with everybody? I don't want anybody to feel like I didn't know that document existed.
Well, I went looking for it in my pack that I had when I first
Yeah.
came on the board.
Can I? Yeah, just. See where.
Chris, do you want me to copy it?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, you can, and then everybody can take a hard copy home. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Is it that one?
It's this one in my hand here.
Yeah, they all look the same.
I know, I got a whole lot going on over here.
Maybe you'll be better.
I'm pretty good at making copies.
Yeah. I mean, are we okay with that? I don't want anybody to feel like there's.
So just throw this one away. So I don't
Just
get
throw them all away. He'll give you the one that will go off, and then.
That one does not have our vision statement that we have voted to,
Okay, well that's the same. We can just write that.
yeah. So I will say that is not.
We'll just, you know what that is.
So a question, when you were highlighting these things, is that because you were saying that that needs to be changed, doesn't need to be changed, or we need to
I
decide?
didn't even highlight anything.
I think I might have highlighted them for that reason. Those are the parts that weren't statute, I guess would be the easiest way to put it. Like the executive said, those are things that the board itself needs to decide if they wanted them in there would be why I highlighted those.
Basically what's open to some
Okay.
adaptation.
I
and
wasn't
what's-
sure what the highlighting meant,
Yeah,
so.
Because I think when we originally started on this process, we're gonna work on it, and then I think I highlighted them then, and then
yeah,
the process itself changed, but
so, and I can
some of the
gladly
stuff past
take,
that part will be
take responsibility for that.
Well, I'm sorry, I want to apologize that I didn't. I just was assuming that in the deal.
Sure. Well, if everybody's okay with that, if I'm getting some kind of, some feedback, alright, enough to, that we will move forward, we'll have Chris give us those. Everyone will be where we need to be as far as that, and then, yeah, it'll be a slightly amount of more work for the next 2 months, but I think we can still accomplish what we need to before January. So, we'll include Mr. I, really, this is, our executive session, and, how long we wanna give ourselves from that, so, or give ourselves for that. Start with 20 or 30,
I'd say 30 at least.
okay? Everybody okay with starting with 30? Okay? I will read that motion, I'm assuming we will go downstairs, okay? I move the board recess to executive session to discuss issues related to the teacher's contract under the exception of the non-elected personnel exception under KLMA. The open meeting shall resume at 8:55 to include the board and Craig Ida Cabbage. Second, again, all in favor, right hand.
I know you guys can go, director, you can go.
It's 9:05.
There we go, it's 9:05.
There it
All
is.
right, yeah, moving on to reports. I'll start with RCEC. More of the same, struggles with hires. I got an email about a special meeting, I don't know what about, but they're very nice 21-minute meetings. So, anyway, not a whole lot, I mean, the same struggles they've had, so. Move on to superintendent report.
Yeah, I've got three things. First, we got word yesterday that Kansas Can Star Recognition Program released their awards for this school year, and USD 312 received stars in the following area. Kindergarten readiness, we received a bronze star, and then the other one was individual plans of study, and we received a copper star. A little disappointed about the social emotional one, but looking from across the state, that one might have been really hard to get this year. The kindergarten readiness one, only 32 schools last year, or 32 districts received either a bronze star or better. Actually, no one got better than a bronze star last year. I think there were some silvers this year. So really excited about that. Yeah, you know, as an elementary teacher, principal, you know, you used to put stars on paper, but what it is, and when we talk about DLT and admin team, is the states has these 5 areas that are their outcomes or what they want us to see us improving on, and then they have rubrics on all those, and we spend time and fill those rubrics out and put a bunch of artifacts. And so what it does, it really gives us as a district, whether we get stars or not, or whether we even turn them into the state, using those rubrics and assessing those programs will be something we'll continue to do, because it gives us a chance to look and make sure what we have in place for our individual plans of study is exactly what the state's looking for, and is it done at a high level. And so really pleased for these. We'll keep plugging away at them, and we'll share this out tomorrow on social media and our newsletter and things like that. So shout out to Megan and the different teams that worked on those applications to then get those into the state. First 9 weeks has come to an end. Parent-teacher conferences next week. So you know, big believer in, you know, that home school connection, and it starts there, and coming in and communicating with parents about you know, what our kiddos need at home, and then the teacher doing the same, and what some ways they can support and what's going on a daily basis in their classrooms with each individual kid. And then the last thing I have, and I'm glad she stayed, I do want to give a shout out to Laurel Scott. She was one of 3 principals to be awarded the Principals Advocate Award from the Kansas School Counselors Association for her support of our counselors. So big shout out to her. That's a pretty big deal, even with this transition, but you know, the processes that she had put in place at Haven Grade, and then that they're starting to put in at Haven High, are going to be really beneficial for students. So shout out to Laurel for a great job. That's all I have.
Very good, Laurel. All right, thank you for that. All right, board reports.
I don't know anything.
Okay, Ken? Kelly?
Couple of things. One, the Job Olympics, I know I brought it up last year. Who is our, like, SPED or adaptive teacher that needs to get that information, so that if we do want any of the high school kids to participate in that?
You can send it to myself or each of the admin. I know last year RCEC sends kids, but we didn't have any kids that qualified for that, but now that we have the adaptive program, we should.
I wondered if.
So yeah, absolutely, you'll send that to me again, we'll get it to the right hands.
And, sorry, Kelly, this year we're taking students, it's called Disabilities Mentoring Day, and Haven has traditionally not participated in that. And we will be going, taking a group of students to job shadowing and mentoring from the high school. So
Okay, so
I don't know if that's part of the Job Olympics or not, but I know we've not traditionally participated in D&D Day, and this year.
Yeah, I don't know what is all a part of it. I just know that I was speaking with her, and she said there's a whole bunch of schools or whatever in the area, and it's always a big event, and it's kind of a.
Person takes some, because I was going to talk to that teacher to see if it would be something Becca could do.
It's like yeah, it's a fun way, I think, for them to see if they can, like, I mean, some obviously at different levels, you know, but like sort silverware or count money or strip beds. I mean, they're just things, a bunch of different things that you would do in a job, but they make it fun, like a game, almost like they're competing. And they do just different things. I think they win different awards. But it just helps kind of give them assessments on maybe what they could do. I mean, things they could do if they wanted to do them. But I don't know much about it. I just know that I was speaking with the lady and she asked me about it again, and I said I would pass it on. So. And then the other thing, I had been called, and I don't know if there's other board members have been called about a bus driver leaving. And that's where, I'm not sure how we want to address this. We had, I don't know if there's hearsay stuff involved, I don't know, but it was a pretty, disappointing to lose a good bus driver, so I don't know what.
Is this something you're taking care of, Craig?
I was
Talk
here,
about it in
you-
open session.
Yeah, you're not gonna talk about it here.
I know, that's why I said, I didn't know if that was something that we needed to have an executive session for, or if it was.
You probably could
Yeah,
have
or
an executive session
an
real quick.
email, before.
Or do we just want him to send us an update?
I'd say,
What do you think?
you can let us.
It's up to you guys. It hadn't, it's, a lot of it's hearsay right now, so that's part of the reason that there hasn't been anything sent out, but also, I think what happened was getting cleaned up by somebody else, so. But yeah, we can certainly go to the exec and I can quickly do that, but it's up to you guys.
I mean, whatever.
Yes, decide what we should talk about anymore.
Sure.
There's no reason for 45%, so.
Yeah, we would just need to make a motion.
I move we go into executive session for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Second from Ken, all in favor, right hand? 6-0. All right. 17th, according to that. I don't have anything. Jessica, nothing? All right, nothing? Very good.
No.
Nothing from Christie. Next meeting, November 10th, 2025, 6 p.m. right here in this room. And second, we got a first, second from Daniel, all in favor, right hand. 6-0. Thank you guys.
I do have 4 minutes to sign tonight.
I got a whole mess of stuff.
Yep.
It's interesting, I lost one of these about a month ago,
And then you found it.
and then I found it a month later. I don't know how that worked.
See y'all later.
See you, Ryan. I hope you get your beauty sleep tonight.
I will.
Yeah.